Welcome to Spy Girls, where espionage meets real talk. We are two former CIA officers, Brittany Butler, and former FBI Special Agent Tracy Walder. Join us as we pull back the curtain on the world of intelligence, crime, and global affairs. We're so glad that you're here. So, today we thought it would be fun to talk about what we've carried from our careers at the CIA, FBI into our lives today. What kind of skills are we still using? I get this question all the time. So, yeah, Tracy, do you want to start us off, like chatting about that?
Yeah, this is a kind of, I guess, fun episode, but I think it also makes me realize how much of it is like ingrained into us. We don't necessarily like stop and think
Right,
about what we're doing.
right,
And so then when we
right,
reflect, it's like,
right.
oh,
Yeah.
and I have found myself clinging more to the skills like since I've become a mom. I guess it kind of
Hmm.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, but yeah, I think one sort of skill I think that we have is just our abilities to read people,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense, and read
Hmm.
situations really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have found that it comes off as rude, judgmental, being paranoid, those kinds of things. But I think a lot of it is for our own, I guess, self-preservation, if
Hmm.
you will.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like emotional intelligence is that kind of unspoken thing that, maybe you don't really key in on when you're watching like James Bond or Jason Bourne. You're watching these gunfights, you're watching all of this kind of action take place. And in reality, I feel like espionage is more kind of a mind game.
Hmm.
It is almost like a testament of wills and ability to read a situation in the right way. And I think, especially when you're working with sources or detainees, or even like your colleagues at the CIA, like you really have to have a good understanding of, how to read a situation. And by that, I mean, like, so what I have learned kind of over the years, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, Tracy, but I've loved your expertise as a former FBI special agent, just in terms of like not really paying attention as much to someone's words, but more of their
Hmm.
actions. So like, how are they presenting themselves? How are they speaking to me? I find that when someone is like kind of rattling off things like really quickly, that they're nervous, or maybe their voice is like a higher pitch, that to me they come off as maybe not being truthful. And I'm paying attention to kind of how they're speaking more so than like what they're saying. And then I don't think it's as easy as like eye rolls or not looking at someone in the eye, something. I don't think it's that. I think it's more of like baselining a person, because everybody's different, right? Everybody has their own kind of quirks about how they speak. And what, like for me, I really use my hands a lot, and that's just, if someone was going to baseline me, I feel like they would take that into consideration. When I'm speaking, I use my hands. But understanding like the physical cues when someone is not telling the truth is more about baselining where they are, like getting an understanding for how do they act when they're telling the truth. So, for example, whenever I encountered the polygraph, what I noticed is that they asked me, really simple questions like, what is your birth date? Where were you born? Things that they knew I would probably tell the truth on. And I think they use those questions as kind of a baseline for how they were going to determine whether I was nervous or potentially lying. And those are kind of some tactics that sometimes I'll use today, because I like, for my kids and my husband, even like I kind of baseline them. Like I know how they act, and I know some physical cues whenever they're nervous or apprehensive about something. And so I would say that maybe a normal person doesn't do that. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think other people do that? The
I mean,
baseline thing?
listen, I failed my first polygraph. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, wait. Oh, okay. So wait, let's talk about the polygraph for a minute, because they told me that I failed too, but then I got a letter saying that I didn't fail. Like,
No, I had to come
congratulations.
back the next day.
Okay. Yeah. I
Well, I
so I
had
had a 2-day thing, and then at the end they were like, Okay, yeah. Like it was about drugs. It was about, they played this mind game with me about drugs. I went to Florida State University. I just like never tried weed or anything. I don't know. I was like drinking was enough for me. It wasn't that I had anything against it. I just like wasn't into it. And but my brother, I don't think he'll care that I said he smoked weed. And um for some like whenever I came over to his apartment once. I had been studying for finals. I was really stressed out, and he blew weed smoke like in my face and was like, chill the F out, Brittany, it's gonna be okay. And like I guess like that was in the back of my mind as I was going through the polygraph, and they're asking me if I ever did drugs. I was like, no, I like really didn't. But they were detecting something, like some like nervousness there. And I remember at one point they were like, if you don't admit to doing drugs, you're not going to get your clearance. This is all for nothing. And we feel like you need to sit with that for a little bit. And they left the room. And I actually like the mind game started to work on me where I was like, hey, should I like lie and say that I've done drugs just so I can get my clearance? But I noticed, then I was like, no, 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 that's what they want me to do. They want to see if I'll compromise my integrity just to get what I want. So they came back in the room and they were like, okay, did you do drugs? And I was like, honestly, no, I didn't. Like my brother blew my face that one time, like, but that was it. And they're like, okay, well, I'm sorry. It looks like you failed. And then like I got a letter in the mail, like I don't know if it was a couple weeks or a month later, I forget how long it was. And they're like, congratulations, you have your clearance. Isn't that weird?
I think it's probably just a mind game, I would imagine,
Yeah.
all the way up to the end. I mean, I had the opposite
Yeah.
experience. Mine was detecting deception, not because I was being deceptive, but because I was becoming annoyed.
Mm,
Because they kept asking me that same question over and over and over, and I was starting to just get angry, not
right.
nervous, not
Right.
none of that. But that's just my personality. And so I think
Yeah.
when they left the room, I actually fell asleep. Um,
What?
yeah, and so that's when they came back and said you passed. And I think it was because of my reaction, the fact that I wasn't nervous. I was just like, F you. I've never done drugs. And if you have a problem with it, I literally don't care because I didn't always want to work at the CIA anyway. So I literally didn't care if I
Yeah.
got the job or not. And that's what caused me to fall asleep because I was just like over it. And I
Yeah.
hadn't slept much the night before. And so I think they realized like if someone is lying, they're going to in my opinion, someone who's lying is never going to be able to completely relax because the
Right.
lie is always on their brain. So,
Right.
yes, definitely a baseline, like knowing how someone acts and if they're differentiating from that,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
important. But to me, I think the other thing too is how they react after they've told you whatever you may think the
Right.
lie is because I think we have to like hook people up to devices and like do all this like
Mm-hmm.
fancy stuff, and it's not really about that.
Mm-mm.
But to me, if someone after they've told you whatever
Yeah.
story it is, that is actually the more important part for me. Is
Right.
did they just seem to relax, like carry on about their next few minutes, or are they sort of lingering in that? And
Yeah.
then, trying to come back to it or not coming back to it,
Mm.
like seemingly anxious.
Mm.
That to me, just you can almost see it, someone's telling the truth and getting all of this out or whatever. There's a release that happens almost in their shoulders and their body language. And so does
Mm.
this person again, none of this is admissible in court. It's just all things that
Yeah.
I have
Right.
noticed. Um, and
Yeah.
I would notice that too when I would talk to terrorists. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not about screaming or yelling, but if they were telling me a story, it was very clear afterwards that their body language still like remained excited and like this,
Right.
but then if they could kind of relax, it was like they got it all out. And I realized like that's probably from when I fell asleep.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
chair. I don't know, but I'm not a
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all a mind game. And I feel like everybody has a story to tell about the polygraph. And I think, honestly, the people that have no issue with the polygraph, I almost am more suspect of them because I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like if you, and maybe this is just like, I'm a, being a Catholic, like I'm used to confession. And like, there was one point in the polygraph, my polygrapher was like, Brittany, this is not a confessional. Like, you don't need to tell me every little thing you've ever done wrong. I was like, oh, okay, okay, sorry, you know. But something else that I've kind of like picked up on, and I'd love to know if you can give our listeners just like little tips about like maybe physical cues, maybe things that you have witnessed in your time of like debriefing, detainees or terrorists or whatever, things that you have been kind of, I don't know, indicators for you that they are in fact lying. Are there specific physical cues other than the shoulder thing that you're like, that yeah, are tips for you that they could be lying? I know for me, one of the things that I kind of carried with me into debriefing is if they don't want to tell me a particular piece of information, let's say like I'm honing in on like this photograph of this guy, this HVT, high value target, do you know him? Do you know him? Do you know? You can't just ask that and ask
No.
that. You almost have to redirect the conversation to, okay, like what are you the most worried about today? Like what's on your mind? How's your morning been or whatever, to kind of just get them talking. Just try to get them to start admitting something. And almost like through kind of like a more of a natural flow of conversation, I was able to gather more from my sources and detainees rather than being like, do you know him? Do you know him? Do you know him? What's his phone number? What's his, whatever. Um, yeah, I'd love to know if you had any experiences like that, Tracy, and like what tips you might be able to give our listeners.
Those are the only experiences I had.
Yeah,
I think again, we see it in
yeah,
movies, good cop,
yeah,
bad cop, like that whole
right.
situation.
Yeah,
And that's not real, but I would approach actually debriefing the same way that you approach actually recruiting a human asset,
yeah,
which is actually finding commonality.
right,
Because the information that they have, you want it, but you can't get it right away. It's just not going to
right,
happen. And so
right.
I don't remember ever going in there and being like, tell me who this is, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't think I ever did that.
yeah,
Um, Maybe people did. I don't remember, but I know that I
yeah,
never did. For
yeah,
me, it was about, and I talk about it in my book. It was about finding. I know this seems strange. Like, how could this like
yeah.
22-year-old sorority girl from like California like empathize with the terrorists? But the thing is, we're all humans, right? And so like,
Right,
there's stuff we like, stuff we
right.
prefer, all those kinds of things. And so for them, it's less about these like scare tactics, right? Like
Yeah,
yelling and screaming, and
right.
more about building this this commonality. And what I
Mhm.
noticed is if they were lying, what I noticed is that not me, they would try to redirect the conversation to
Mm,
something else that they either wanted to talk about or thought that maybe I wanted to talk about more. I'm not sure
mhm.
what they thought, would happen, that I wouldn't realize that they were doing it, but I think maybe they did.
Yeah,
Think that I would not realize it, but it would just be as simple as like, um, do you know who this person is? Right. Like, let's
right.
keep it basic. And they'll be like, did you hear about, this person in Europe? Because like I heard about him and I just think he's this guy. It had nothing to do, right, with like the question at hand. And so that's when one I
Right,
would know is probably on to something, right? If you're not being
right, right.
about it. And
Yeah,
then two, you're definitely whatever's gonna come out of your mouth after that is probably not going to be accurate, because
right.
while you are telling me this other story, you are
Hmm.
actually concocting in your brain whatever kind of story you think is going to satisfy me. And so that
Mm,
was always the biggest indicator, like non
yeah,
cues, right?
right.
Of whether or not someone, and you know what, my 9-year-old does it too. I have
Yeah,
noticed this. They will start to, I want to say, like, hijack the conversation, right? Like you have
yeah,
started this conversation because you
yeah.
need a piece of information, and now for some reason the conversations come
Right,
back on you, and so
right.
that's huge indication, in my opinion, of lying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I feel like our listeners would be really interested in like have we used these tactics on our family? Like, have
Yeah.
we used them on friends? Um, I have a story that I'll share with you about just my husband coming back from his bachelor party. He, he went to Vegas like 100
Like
other
most
dudes
bachelors do.
are the
Yeah.
bachelor party, and I was sure that he went to a strip club, right? Like, but he just was like lying up and down, like, I didn't go.
Better if they would just tell you, because like you
Right? That's
expect
what,
it, right? Like,
yes. Just come clean. And like the weird part is I had just been to debriefing and elicitation like training because I was going to Iraq like in a couple weeks and like he knew that I like went for some kind of training. So it was funny, he like got off the plane and like we sat down and his friend was with us and I kind of like I used an attack this on him to like see if he was lying or not. And I I know you're not supposed to do that. They tell you don't do this. And but I don't know. I find myself again to your point of like not even knowing that I'm doing it,
yeah.
that it just comes out like it's not something that's intentional. It's just like, anything in life, like your experiences influence how you act and what you do. And like my kids, so my one kid, I remember my oldest, he was like he said, I heard that he had said a cuss word, and I was like, I cannot believe you said this cuss word. And he was like, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. And like, I just told him that I had cameras all over the house, inside. This
I've
will
totally
not
done
come out.
that. I've 100% done that.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if that's a CIA thing or if that's just like I don't know,
Maybe
mom
everyone's
lying
do
thing.
it. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I was like, I can see everything. And he's like, oh, is this your weird CIA thing again? I'm like, yes, that's what it is. But honestly, it's probably not. It's probably just like something that's like coming through. But yeah, no, I feel like also I don't shy away from, difficult situations where I feel like people are not being honest with me. Like my husband is kind of like, he doesn't like conflict. He doesn't like anything that would be uncomfortable. I almost like lean into it. I don't know why, but like,
You and I are like carbon copies of each other, especially
yeah.
my husband's the exact same way. So
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like he's totally like drama averse and I'm like leaning in. I'm like, let's figure this out. Let's like dissect it. And maybe that's like also a female thing, right? I think that like females can be much better intelligence officers in that way because I think that I think we're just more analytical. Like we just take the time to like really analyze the situation and perhaps the guys are just like let's go for it, they're all action oriented or a little bit more action oriented where they just want to jump into a situation where I'm like more reflective and I just kind of look back and I step back and I try to look at the situation. I also feel like I don't know if you've ever gotten this feeling before, but um like in friend situations, like I don't know what it is that irks me about someone, like, or I'll just get little, I'll be able to pick up on things maybe a little bit quicker about when someone's a little off. And I can't pin it exactly in that moment, but it always comes out that I was right. I don't know. Like, I don't mean to
oh,
sound like, oh, I'm always right, but I just pick up on like, okay, this person's just like not right. I don't know.
I mean, I'm the exact same way. And my husband calls me the human lie detector. And so what he does, so he owns a pretty big business. And
Yeah.
when he first started hiring managers, the first one he hired, I met for 2 seconds. I was like, this is going to be a huge problem. You should not hire this person. And sure
Yeah.
enough, she stole from him and like all of these because he didn't think I'm not a business person, right?
Right.
He is.
Right.
And so um, he started now. I meet the manager. Not and they don't necessarily know that I'm there to like read them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the I am the one who gave him the recommendation to hire this last one who's now been with him for 7.5 years, and so
Wow.
the other two that he had gone through, one almost set fire to the practice and then the other one
Yeah.
stole. And those were two that I said, this is not a good idea. And he kept asking why.
Yeah.
The thing is in hiring, you don't have to have a why, right? Like
Right.
it's a
Right.
it's a private business. He can
Yeah.
truly do what he wants. And so
Yeah.
he's now come to almost trust me in making these
Mm-hmm.
like good hiring decisions, if
Yeah.
that makes
Sure.
any sense.
Yeah.
So yes, and I do get reads on people pretty quickly. I mean, I'll be honest. You seem like, okay, where we're different is like you
Yeah.
seem like you like to be out and about and are social, like
Yeah.
way more. than me. I am like a huge introvert. I don't trust or like most people. And so I think that
Tracy, I am the same
you are.
way. It's
Oh my
so
gosh.
funny you
You
think
look
that.
like you've got so many friends. I
I
have
know it's
friends,
all a
obviously,
lie.
but they're
It's all a lie. No, I don't. I literally like my husband is the social one. He likes to
my
go
husband's a
out
social
more.
butterfly, and so is my daughter. My daughter is my husband.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I just want I'm an author, right? So I'm a writer. So I want to be in my pajamas and write like on a Saturday night. Like that is what I prefer to do with like a glass of red wine and some chocolate. And I'm just like going to like that is my heaven. Like it's so funny that you say that. But
I
yeah, okay,
think
sorry.
I think everyone else though is
Yeah,
operating differently. So I
yeah,
learned because I became a school teacher and I had a meeting
yeah,
with the principal, and the
right.
principal looked at me and not in a bad, it was a great thing. And he said,
Yeah,
"You just have to trust me." And I looked at
yeah.
him, I was like, "I don't trust anyone. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to." For me,
Mm-hmm.
it's very much
Yeah,
earned. And so I
yeah,
think it's also because at CIA we're kind of taught trust no one.
right.
Like everything is, and I know it's maybe not the most constructive way
Mm-hmm.
to
No, it's
approach life
definitely, yeah,
because but at the CIA it
yeah,
obviously worked, right? Because we
yeah,
are dealing with very unsavory people, right?
right,
Who have all
right,
kinds of motivations for doing what they're doing. So to
right.
have that healthy skepticism, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, is probably a good thing and makes you a
Totally.
better CIA officer.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think in the real world, you can't approach every single person you meet with this
Mm-mm.
like huge amount of skepticism, right?
Yeah, totally,
Because it
totally.
actually starts to put them off as well because they're getting that, just like you might be getting something from someone,
Yeah,
they also might be getting that from you.
of course. Yeah, no, totally. And I feel like so people are always taken aback like when they find out that I'm like former CIA, whatever. I guess I don't come off that way.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
same.
I've I've got another vibe. I think like a cheerleader vibe or something. I don't know. But I find myself, and maybe this is just getting older too, but I just gravitate towards the people that I've known for years and years.
That's my friends are friends I've had for 10 plus years.
I same. I just like really don't trust anyone. Like I'm very. It's really hard for me to like open up and like trust people with my like life because yeah, I think I've seen the worst of humanity.
Same. That's what I tell people. I've seen the absolute worst at the FBI. I saw it in a different way than
Yeah,
I saw it at the CIA, but
yeah,
I've seen the worst.
yeah. I know how like effed up people can be and like how dark the world is. And I think like I was with my son and my husband yesterday at this like it was like a Lowe's like nursery where you like buy flowers and crap. And you can see how into gardening I am.
Same
Flowers
girl.
and crap. My husband's the gardener.
Same.
Um, and I was just like, he let my son just like run out into like where all they keep all the flowers outside. Like I got that I was meeting them from an exercise class and I was like, where is Arthur? Arthur's like 4 years old. He was like, oh, he's just running around out back. And I'm like, what are you doing? Someone
Yeah.
could take
Yeah.
him, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Brittany, this is like a really safe place. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand how dark the world is and, whatever. And I really feel like he doesn't. Like, I think if, like he's always like kind of lived like a American life,
And
like,
I wish I could be that way.
right? I do too sometimes. I really do.
But
I
instead,
think
we're too busy being human lie detectors.
I know, I know. Well, they need us. I feel like our husbands need us
100%.
because
100%.
my husband is like I'll be getting a read on a person and I'd be like, oh, this is not right. It's not right. And he'll be like, what? He's like the nicest guy ever. Like he's so whatever. I'm like, this guy could be a serial killer. He's way too nice. There's something going on here. He's trying to romance you too much. Like this is weird. Um, so yeah, no, it's so interesting
And
how we have
it's weird
applied
to,
these.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead, please.
It's weird to, like, from the law enforcement side, like, in
Yeah,
regards to safety, and I'm not trying to, like, mom shame people. That's, like, never my goal. But,
right.
it was really interesting. I think about the worst, like, probably cataclysmic thing that could happen, right? And so when my daughter was in, like, kinder, ish, so
Mm-hmm.
5. She would
Mm-hmm.
play the local YMCA soccer, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I all the moms would come with Yetis of wine, right? And
Mm.
I never understood. It was like 4 p.m. And
Yeah.
so, like, for me, I was like, why would I here's my water? Like, why would I? It didn't occur to me,
Right.
right, to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And then they would all get in their cars and like drive their kids
Oh.
home, right? And so it, I thought about the worst possible thing that can happen, right? Like I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure if your blood alcohol level is lower than drive, I don't care what you do, but like
Right.
we're talking a couple Yetis, right? Like in their car. And
Oh.
all of them were like, "Oh, it's just a few blocks, Tracy. Like it's hard to be friends with you because like you go to this like worst
Oh.
possible sort of
Yeah.
scenario." And so
I
like
know.
that can be hard too,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes. But I go to that scenario because I've seen the worst of that scenario,
Right.
right? Like in law enforcement, but because I'm not necessarily surrounded by people with that background, it can
Right.
come off as like off-putting and judgmental. And I
Yeah.
don't mean it to. Like I've
Yeah.
definitely drank in wine and driven a car,
Right.
but one glass of wine is not me drunk, right? Like there's
Right. Right.
so it's a really weird, like
It is weird. But
weird.
like I feel like if they are true this is at least this is the conclusion I've come to on my own. Like if they're true friends, they'll appreciate you looking out for them. Like I really
Yeah.
appreciate like if I'm at a party or whatever, that when someone's like, which one of you is driving, like on our way home, like be like, you're driving, right? Like you didn't have anything to drink and what
Yeah.
like that just shows your concern. It just shows that you give a shit. So I don't know. I feel like I would take that as thanks. Like, no, I'm okay. But I also, I do see, I can totally see being in a similar situation where someone's just like, Brittany, let up, let loose. Well, and I don't typically ever overserve myself. And I
I don't
think,
either. It's a control issue, a million
yes,
percent. I do think that
yeah,
with the agency, we always want to be in control, even though there is,
yeah.
I would say, pretty high alcohol abuse rates in some, depending on where it
Oh,
is.
for sure. Yeah,
But not as much amongst the women I've noticed. And I think part of
right.
it too is that we want to, if we're meeting with the asset or we're meeting with, debriefing,
Mm-hmm.
we want to be able to be in control of our situation, and alcohol
Mm-hmm.
makes you out of control. So I
Right, right.
completely agree with that.
Well, and also like loose lips, like I don't want to like be like telling secrets or something.
Yes.
I didn't ever, I try to, like you said, it's a control thing for me too. But then also, yeah, like I'm like, I just don't want to drink too much and feel out of control and then also like say something I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
And, um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I think it's, and whereas I do have friends, like they have no reservations about like not being in control. Like it doesn't bother them. Like they're just like, ah, God, whatever. And like I don't, I'm this on your same page. I don't want to sound judgy or anything, and I'm not judgy. Like that's what they decide to do. That is their thing.
Yeah, I don't care.
I just can't do that. I just can't not be in control. And then I also like, I do not. I'm old now. I can't feel like shit for the whole weekend. Like I
No,
have
I mean,
stuff to do.
girl, you are preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I got things to do. I can't be in bed all day, and I have a 4-year-old. So, well, this has been so fun. Tracy, thank you so much for talking about this with me.
Thank
I
you,
just feel
Brittany.
like
This is
this will
fun.
give our listeners such a good like feel for some of the things that we've taken with us from our government work into our lives now. And we really encourage all of you to please let us know what you'd like us to talk about next time. We're so open to, hearing from you. We'd love to hear from you, any kind of feedback you have about our podcast. And please do not forget to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spy Girls. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.